Hey, it's Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is another to back or not to back. It's entirely too late at night. Just got back from Origins, and well, I have to get this up for you tomorrow, so let's go ahead and dive into the latest Kickstarters of the week, of which we have the usual. We're going to have cancellations, Kickstarter, board game. I keep saying this the past few weeks. I say Kickstarter adjacent, when what I really mean is board game adjacent. It's all that game found, although ironically enough, we don't have any game found campaigns this week. But that will soon change. We have a bunch of stuff coming up. If you watched my video this past Friday on upcoming Kickstarters and Game Founds, then you know we have a lot coming through the pipeline, but that is neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and talk about the Kickstarters that have launched this past week, starting with Board Game Adjacent. See, I did it right this time. Board Game Adjacent starting with the Adventures and Monsters Plastic Miniatures Edition. Now, this is going to be a campaign that has not funded yet. 651 backers. I did a little bit of a showcase of the miniatures in a separate video. You can check that out, or you can just go ahead and look through the campaign. Basically, it's going to be, well, you know, it's going to be a roughly $69 for, well, a whole bunch of miniatures. You're going to get all the missions in the base pledge plus potential stretch goals. It's going to be 108 miniatures. If you locked in that early bird as well, you're going to get this extra free female rabbit folk rogue or whatever. You can go through the campaign, check out the miniatures. Obviously, this is competing very much in the same lane as the Blacklist line of miniatures from the Blacklist Fantasy line, although different miniatures, different company, but that kind of genre of, hey, do you want a bunch of miniatures at a reasonable price point, interested or not? To their credit, they have a very reasonable, realistic funding goal of $92,000, but that also means that even with 650 backers, they're not yet funded. Now, based on the general rule of 3, you would expect to see this funded. The rule of 3, for those who don't know it, is going to be the first third of your funding comes in the first 2 days, the second third across the campaign, and the last third in the last 2 days of the campaign. This is following that general trend that it may well see funding in that case, but the flip side is they also have an early bird, and that always throws that rule of 3 off. It means you're slightly more front-loaded for all the people who are interested, who said, let's go ahead and back it at that early bird pledge to lock in that extra miniature, but they may or may not actually stick, thus leading to slightly flatter mid-campaign numbers. But that's going to be the Adventures and Monsters Plastic Miniature Edition. They'll have some more stretch goals coming. If they go that far, it may cancel and relaunch. I don't know. It could go either way. We'll see how things continue there. Next up in Kickstarter Adjacent, and Board Game Adjacent, unbelievable. Next up in Board Game Adjacent, give me a second over here, we're going to have the Realistic Resources, the Top Shelf Token Treasury. This is going to be coming to you from, Top Shelf Gamer. Full disclaimer over here, I do have whenever I do my monthly Deluxeification video, they generally do sponsor that series by, well, primarily by sending stuff, and then I have a linked, you know, discount, whatever it is, where I get a commission, so I do have a working relationship with them. But all that said, Top Shelf Token Treasury, again, I covered this as well. You can check that out if you want to see, well, me, myself, or but any other content creators going through these various lines. Basically, for some general quick overview, the original treasure chest came to you from Jamie Stegmaier from Stonemaier Games. They brought you the original treasure chest, which are basically this line of deluxeified resources, unlike the typical deluxeified resources you're used to seeing on the marketplace. Top Shelf Gamer eventually took over that line. There's a great interview if you want to watch Ito on his channel had an interview with them, covering the bit of the story, the background of how Top Shelf Gamer started by kind of temporarily selling those resources, and then eventually taking over the whole line and expanding upon it as well. They have slowly been adding more and more realistic resources to different games, and now they're putting out 4 different full sets. The main benefit of which is going to be if you want to be able to utilize a variety of realistic resources in different games without having to rebuy those same wheat things for every single game. Rather, you can have a centralized hub where you keep all your resources and pull them out for the various games that use them, thus providing a degree of economy much cheaper than having, you know, 300 versions of wheat. You'll only have 30 and pull them out when needed, but also meaning that you're potentially adding an extra step of setup and tear down when you go through these games, or it's just alternatively a cheaper way of getting your hands on a variety of these resources. Because in general, you can go to the website, you can go to Top Shelf Gamer, and buy these various packs. You can say, hey, I want to upgrade my resources in, I don't have a game offhand, in Dune, in Cat Lady, in Tiny Towns. You can pick a game and just upgrade your game, or you can actually just buy this set over here, which over here they have 225 backers, $21,000 raised. That's going to be for 4 different kits. We have the original treasure chest reprinted, we have the Harvest Handbook with these 6 resources, the Elemental Essentials with these, as well as the Cataclysmic Compendium over here. So a whole bunch of options there. And then they do give you the breakdown of exactly what you're getting in every single one, as well as a list of which games you can use them for, which is not a comprehensive list. It's just a partial list of a variety of games that can benefit or utilize these tokens and or what you'll be missing in that game. So this game will use 9 97% of the tokens you get, but might be missing 3% that you'll have to just use the originals or some other proxy. They have those lists in case you want to see just how widespread you can get these tokens. Any single one of those boxes is going to run you $50, which is a discount from the MSRP, from the official rate, but I don't know. I have not done a comparison in terms of buying, let's say, a Tiny Towns kit versus buying these boxes. I have not done a comparison of how much you get and whether it's a good deal there. We have the Gaming Aficionado, which is going to be 2 sets, and then Gaming Connoisseur for 3 sets, or alternatively all 4 of them for the Ultimate Upgrader, getting you all 4 box sets, all in stretch goals that are unlocked throughout the campaign, and that's going to be the Realistic Resources line from Top Shelf Gamer, currently on Kickstarter. From there, we move to canceled and not funding, and we have one cancellation, a game, City of the Great Machine, which I won't overly spoil things until they relaunch, but I have played it, and I won't overly spoil things until they relaunch. A short version, I don't actually have the game. I'm not covering the game as a, reviewer, content creator, whatever, but I did play this game with Cracklope, who did have the game. There'll be a gameplay of that coming when they relaunch. I'll talk more about my opinion there. But short version, Crowd D Games, they launched the City of the Great Machine, and day one canceled it. Primarily, it looks because of the pushback on twofold. One is going to be on the price point. There's a lot of pushback on the price point of the game, which we should give a disclaimer, we should give a note about that in general. And then separately about the fact that they had a lot of stretch goals that were like, hey, this expansion only has, part of the expansion and the rest will unlock, which they may or may not unlock depending on stretch goals. So a bit of a typical thing. It's one of those complicated aspects of a Kickstarter. You need to simultaneously have the value there day one, but then you also need to have stretch goals and excitement and daily reveals. So it's a weird twist where it needs to be valuable enough to pay attention day one, but also still give you stuff throughout the campaign. It really does put not content creators, it puts Kickstarter creators, it puts project creators in a tough spot of the ecosystem we've created, which companies like CMON can navigate, and to a certain extent they navigate it based on the fact that we know that value will be there. Everyone who backs the CMON Kickstarter day one by now, or most people, know that $110 pledge, that $100 pledge is going to cost more than retail, but give you more as you go through it. But day one, it's not actually worth it. So some companies build it up by reputation. Anyways, point is, it's a tough spot. We'll see how Crowd D Games do. They have a variety of Kickstarters under the belt. This one will relaunch. I'm sure it'll come back. I don't know what the price point will be like, and this should be the note part of the video where we talk about the fact that, as usual, these days pricing on Kickstarters is a bit of a mess. The pricing on Kickstarters is in a messy place because effectively the entire industry is trying to give you the prices not of what the game should be today, but of what the game should be, a year and a half from now, or a year and a half from now. So Kickstarter is basically trying to project outwards a year and a half what the price will be, and we are seeing rising MSRPs because of production lines, because of freight slowdowns. There are a variety of reasons that the general supply chain of board games are going to be rising in prices, which puts Kickstarter campaigns in this rough spot, which is basically selling you a product a year down the road and trying to charge you the price a year down the road. But then you and I are looking at the marketplace and saying, but hey, comparing the City of the Great Machine to what we can buy online or in-store today does make for a very hard comparison. The general end result of all that is it puts me in a place where I'm very sympathetic to project creators, but also, if you could buy Lost Ruins or Arnak or City of the Great Machine and you're looking at that price discrepancy, well, you have to make the decision that you have to make for yourself. So, very messy spot. That's going to be true for a lot of campaigns that we'll go through today as well. It's going to be true every single week for quite some time, unfortunately. But anyways, City of the Great Machine is going to be coming back to Kickstarter in likely mid-October, they said. They're aiming for mid-October. We'll see what happens. Hopefully they do have a more tempting game package on the table, but overall, hope to see this one do well. But City of the Great Machine canceled. That was a lot of time spent on a canceled Kickstarter. And from there we go to the not funding category. And first of all, I know that Hyperwars only has 73 backers, but yes, Hungry Gamer, I am 100% aware that it is your voice in this video. I clicked play on this video, and it took me about 3 seconds to realize that the Hungry Gamer voiced this particular trailer or video, whatever it is. But either way, Hyperwars is going to be a game. It's a fast-paced, real-time area control game, one in which you're going to be playing cards, rotating them, moving those cards to your opponents across the table, all while you try to move cubes around the board to fulfill your objectives. It's currently not funding, $3,000 raised out of $7,700. It does look like it's going to have a hard time funding, so we can probably expect a cancellation and relaunch. Again, even when it's not funding, sometimes you can have a good idea of whether it will or won't fund, and in this case, it's looking a lot more like it's going to be in the no category. First created from Dice Coalition Games. Currently, the pledge levels over here is going to be $39. Is going to be an entry pledge level, and then plus shipping, of course, as well. And overall, the game does look like it's cool, but I think that the hard point here is going to be the price point versus the comparison of the game components, the graphic design, the art. What you're getting there doesn't seem, at first impressions at least, equitable to what you would typically get for the $39 range plus shipping. So the $50 range and what you're getting here does look a little bit more prototype-y. And so I should do a video at some point as to why I am 100% willing to judge a game based on the artwork. It's a good video. I should do that. I should do a video. I'll talk about it some other time. But yes, I do absolutely judge games based on the artwork. It's one of many, many facets, but a game that doesn't deliver the graphic design, the art, everything up front is going to get a major ding in my book. We'll talk about that more another time, but I think everyone is going to fall into that category, and I think that's one of the reasons why a price point up here with a game that initially, first instinct, looks a little bit lower is going to make this one a hard sell. That's Hyperwars. Moving on, we have PaleoVet, a game of cards, dice, and saving dinosaurs. Now, this one almost certainly will fund 150 backers, $8,000. Oh, look at that criming as we go. $8,000 raised of 12,000, 29 days to go. This is a game of being a PaleoVet. It's a game about being a veterinarian for dinosaurs. You know, we have the Jurassic Park saga of the world. They don't say Jurassic Park because that would be TM and all that. But they have the Jurassic Park saga. You know, we have dinosaurs created, theme parks. Things have gone wrong, horribly abandoned, and now you and a crack team of various other veterinarians are heading to the island to basically, well, heal the dinosaurs because, you know, after Jurassic Park, after we killed all humans and hoped to see what would happen next, we decided let's keep these things alive as long as possible. I mean, if you're going to reference the movie, I guess if you're going to reference the movie, be as ignorant as everyone else in the movie who decided to continue to dive down that rabbit hole again and again and again, no matter how many times it went, going for 3 full movies plus 2 more. I'm sure we'll see more because Chris Pratt is a delight, and I'd love to see him deal with more dinosaurs. Either way, that's going to be PaleoVet. PaleoVet's going to be coming in at $39 pledge level for a game about, well, healing dinosaurs. It's going to be a game where you're trying to compete to heal dinosaurs, grabbing dinosaurs, assigning tokens, utilizing their abilities, all in this dice drafting game as you utilize the dice to do what you need to do. So it's a little bit of a dice engine, solid game, looks okay. Overall, not yet funding. We'll see how it goes. But $8,000 raised out of $12,000, and again, that $50 price range with $39 plus shipping, same price point as Hyperwars, but a slightly more appealing package that you are getting for it. And then moving on to the funding category of games. So the following games, we have like 8 or 9 games that are all new campaigns. We still have new campaigns. They are still popping up every single week. I thought we'd have like a break week where I do something else, but we haven't needed to. So we have all these campaigns continuously popping up, more and more games, although the price points are making it so that I'm having an easier time not backing some of them. I'm still backing some of them, but I'm having an easier time not backing some of them, although Stefan Feld City Collection, New York City, and Marrakesh is certainly tempting me. Although it shouldn't. It's unfortunate. This is one of those times. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the campaign. We'll come back to it. Stefan Feld City Collection, New York City, and Marrakesh. This is going to be the second in the Stefan Feld City Collection. They already had the first 2. They had Hamburg and Amsterdam, which were reprints of Bruges and Macau. And then they have New York City and Marrakesh. New York City being a reprint of Rialto, and Marrakesh, and reprint with changes and all that. And then Marrakesh being a brilliant, I said brilliant, but I mean, it is brilliant. We'll talk about it. But being its own unique new Feld game. And Marrakesh coming in this gigantic box, and having played this game, I know why it comes in this gigantic box, and having played this game is why I'm tempted by it, despite the ridiculously high price point of a Queen Games Kickstarter. Queen Games is one of those fascinating companies, a company whose their games I often like quite a bit. I have a variety of Queen Games in my collection. I tend to try a lot of them out. Some of them stick, some of them don't, but I generally respect the company quite a bit. But their Kickstarters at the same point, I mean, even just recently I reviewed Cocopelli, Marrakesh I just played and really enjoyed, have not reviewed it because I only played it on TTS. What else do I have from Queen? Winter Kingdom. I have a variety of Queen Games in my collection, and I really like them, but their Kickstarters tend to be fairly expensive, and this is no exception. If anything, this is not only no exception, this is the opposite of no exception. The City Collection from Queen Games has been one of the most expensive Kickstarters that they have run. Their last Kickstarter did very well. The last City Collection did fairly well, bringing in, well, I mean, it was a reprint of Bruges and Macau, and those are both out of print, hard to get games, so even with Queen Games charging fairly expensive price points on their Kickstarter, your options were, let's pay a ridiculously high price on the secondhand market because we really like these games and we want them, or let's pay a slightly less high price on the Kickstarter to get the newer version of said game. And I'll admit, if I didn't already own Bruges, and if I mean, Macau is okay, I like it quite a bit, but not enough to keep it in the larger ecosystem of games. But Bruges is a game that I absolutely do recommend you pay through the nose to get if you like Stefan Feld games. It's one of my favorite Stefan Feld games. I think it is arguably my second favorite. We have Castle Burgundy, then Bruges, I think, is the order. Marrakesh is going to be up there, though. Marrakesh is going to be up there. I don't know exactly. I need more plays before I rank it exactly between, I don't know, what else do I have? I have a bunch of Stefan Feld games, although right now I won't remember any of them, of course. But there's, what do they have? Geez, Bora Bora, there's going to be Amerigo, there's going to be a whole bunch of games. He's done quite a bit of games. Don't ignore me and forgetting and all that stuff. In the Year of the Dragon, we have Oracle of Delphi, tons of games that he has done. Almost every single Stefan Feld game I've played, I have enjoyed. The only question is just where and how much I've enjoyed it. But Marrakesh is going to be up there. Very intricate game, very solid. We'll talk about it more some other time, but overall, I'm getting sidetracked. We have 2 expensive games coming from to complete the city collection. And if you're someone who's really very much a collector and you need that city collection and you want a reason to not go for it, well, off the bat, your box for Marrakesh is going to be bigger and different than New York, Amsterdam, and Hamburg, which means it's not going to perfectly line up. So don't even think of it as a collection. Think of it as a completely separate game. You can't get this set as perfect as you want it anyway, so move on from it. But either way, price points are going to come in at $74 for the classic version of New York. That's going to be not even the Kickstarter with everything else on it. We have Marrakesh, $90 going to be. I mean, it's a big box, lots of stuff, but that's the classic version. Not even what you see here, which is the deluxe, more elegant, pretty version of the box. Then we have New York City Deluxe for $125 for this box. It's painful sometimes. We have Hamburg Deluxe. In case you missed Hamburg or Amsterdam, you can get those for $125 and $25. And the Marrakesh Deluxe, $149 for their games. Like I said, Queen Games. Great company. Their games can get fairly expensive fairly quickly. And this is going to be the classic lines. They actually weren't going to do the classic New York and Marrakesh in this Kickstarter, although there were enough people who pushed back who were unhappy with the fact that they weren't doing those lines, that, day 2 or 3 of the campaign or whatever it was, maybe it's even day 1, I don't remember exactly, but they did add the classic line as well, so you can go ahead and get Hamburg, Amsterdam, New York, and Marrakesh, and thus, 15 people breathed a sigh of relief and said, let's go ahead and spend $80 on a non-deluxe version of a Euro game. Now, again, price point, I'm going to give them a hard time, but although it's still not that simple, so let's talk about a few things. Price point on these games is going to be expensive. All of them are expensive games. I mean, just look at them. You're paying $75 is the entry point for a not even deluxe version. $90 for Marrakesh for a not even deluxe version. And if you want those deluxe versions, you're looking at $125 and $150 respectively. Marrakesh is brilliant. I don't know if it's $150 brilliant. That's a lot of money. That's like 2 out-of-print Stefan Feld games wrapped into one. Although it does come with deluxe wooden components if you want all those, as well as, and this is always my weak spot, game trays inserts. It's one of those frustrating things in life where a separate insert, once you love a game, at least for myself, I'll pay the extra $25, $30 for a separate insert that is coming, whatever, from I don't know, from Meeple Realty or any of a dozen other companies, from Folded Space. I'll pay the extra money for a good insert, but when you wrap it into the price of the game to the tune of $125, $150, it makes me question just how much I want it, and that's before we even talk about the extra coin sets. So if you really want to go all out on these games, I mean, they have a level for you over here. The level is going to be basically $690 for the early bird. For all the games you want, there's limited though, so we have 221 left of 249 because 28 people were willing to pay $690 to get absolutely everything for all of these games. Just wait till they start doing more Stefan Feld games. This is going to be an expensive addiction, this hobby of ours. But either way, that's going to be all that. Now, as far as the should you back it, will it hold its value, all that, it's hard to say with these because, again, this goes back to the nature of really expensive things pushing the boundaries of stuff. Marrakesh is a good game. New York is a little bit tougher to judge. New York never really got the sought-out, out-of-print status that we saw from Bruges and Macau. Bruges and Macau are both solid games that have seen very high out-of-print market pricing. And so the pricing here isn't out of line enough for me to be confident that a deluxe reprinted version of this game, I'm not confident it will hold its value, nor am I confident it will not hold its value. They are expensive, hard to get games, and this is your newer version, especially if you want the deluxe aspect of them, which placed them into a frustrating spot. And then Marrakesh is even just more so, to an extra $25, $15, whatever it is. It's just more so in terms of giving you a bigger box, more content, but expensive. I mean, if you want a deluxe America, it's going to be $150 for a Euro game. That's a lot of money for a Euro game, but it's also a very good Euro game that I have no doubt will be rated highly. My recommendation for all of these falls in the category of, if there's a long list of Euro games you're looking to get your hands on, try those first, especially if they're in print. If you want to check out Bora Bora, it's amazing. Check that out. The Oracle of Delphi, it's also getting expensive, unfortunately. What's with Stefan Feld and his games getting out of print and expensive, and then Queen Games picking them up and reprinting them? Really, the main one I'd recommend you pass on is probably going to be New York, aka Rialto. And that's primarily because, while I did enjoy it, I liked Rialto. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I enjoyed it to the tune of what they're asking on the Kickstarter. Versus Hamburg, I mean, it's expensive, but it's one of my favorite Euro games, so I would pay that premium. It's a very tough spot. Very expensive games. I think the biggest takeaway from me is, if you have other Euro games you are interested in, get those first. You don't need to get these now. If you really want them, they are good games. Moving on, we have Keep the Heroes Out. This is going to be the third game from Louis, I'm not sure the name of his company. What's the name of his company? I'm not sure the name of his company. He's designer of the Dwarf 7 series, but he has his own line of Kickstarters he's been doing. Previously, he did Valknut and Night Parade of the 100 Yokai, and now we're doing Keep the Heroes Out with a 7-second movie. It's a 7-second movie. And Keep the Heroes Out looks adorable. It's going to be, it's a theme we've seen done before. We've seen it most recently, we saw it done, I shouldn't say most recently. I've seen it done a few times. Most notably, not most recently, most notably is going to be with the line of games that is, geez, I'm going to blank on this. What's the line of, it's monsters, you're playing as monsters. I'm blanking on this. They had a Kickstarter, they had another Kickstarter, same company that did the Deep Sea game. I'm blanking on all this stuff. I'm totally blanking on all this. Whatever it was, you're going to be... I'm blanking, I'm sorry. You're going to be playing as monsters that are going to be basically trying to keep the heroes out. You're trying to keep the heroes out of the dungeon as you go through it, and you're going to be taking on different monsters and then deck building out from there. So you're going to have these various ghosts or dragons or Cthulhu or whatever it is, and you're all playing as monsters. There's different ways that you play the game, different abilities you're going to have at your disposal, all while you try to keep the monsters out of the game. It's going to have a modular board, different scenarios, different dungeon monsters, a degree of deck building as you start with your standard deck, each unique to a different faction you have, the red dragon, the imps, the ratkin, the slimes, all of that, and then basically going through the cooperative experience as you try to basically destroy everyone. Looks adorable, looks cute. Like I said already, he has 3 games under his belt. He has Valknut, Night Parade of the 100 Yokai, and now Keep the Heroes Out. And Keep the Heroes Out, I mean, Night Parade of 100 Yokai at 1,200 backers is nowhere near the success we're seeing on this campaign at 4,400 backers. I don't know what he did here, but whatever he did, it absolutely is working. And I mean, it's working to the tune of $286,000 in the day and age of Kickstarter campaigns having a harder time funding. There's going to be $50 for the game, and then there's going to be stretch goals, not stretch goals, there's going to be stretch goals too, but there's going to be optional buys as far as getting extras, and then in general, as far as the should you back it, should you not, and we have the $15 optional add-on for Cthulhu, as well as one other add-on. Let's see if we can find it. It was going to be something, look at the adorable art in this game. Adorable art, adorable. We have, where is it? Let's go to the optional buys, reviews and videos and all those stuff, and Tabletopia. Yes, you can play it on Tabletopia. But we have more stuff. Where's the optional buys? I had them before. We have over here, nope, add-ons. So we have Cthulhu, and then we have one player, oh yeah, the Guildmaster Revenge, that's what it was, where one player basically plays against the others. So you're going to have a one versus many situation for the game instead. But overall, looking at his games as far as should you back it, should you not, first of all, his games generally do have a lower retail release availability, so they don't tend to see a lot of retail availability, if any, depending on the game. So I wouldn't expect a wide availability there. Past that, in terms of looking at his past games, Valknut is one that didn't really hold its value in the secondhand market. Not a lot of people trying to pursue that one. 396 backers. Versus Night Parade of the 100 Yokai, even that one was already seeing a much bigger pickup. He really has come up with his own little following of people that back his games, that are interested in his games, and Night Parade of the 100 Yokai, already in the secondhand market, is holding its value just fine, at least so far. I don't know if that will continue or not, but so far it hasn't even landed yet, and people are reselling their pledges, or hasn't landed, maybe it landed already, but either way, people are reselling their pledges for more than they paid for them, and I believe that will likely hold true for Keep the Heroes Out. I would say if you're interested in this game, I would lean towards backing this game. It's one that you may end up losing a little bit on, but I think if anything, this is probably the best price, best chance to get the game. Keep the Heroes Out looks adorable. I'll probably be picking up a pledge. Maybe I'll hold strong. I mean, again, this theme has been done before. It's with the game name that I can't remember at all. The Everrain, the company is Grimlord Games, and they did the Everrain And the other game, I'm blanking. I've seen, whenever I see like Rado or Tom Vassal or whoever, any content creator do this like on a panel, like completely blank, and I'm like, I'm calling out of my head, I know it, and I know that 372 of you immediately know the game I'm talking about. And I'm going to get the comments too of what the game is, but for the life of me, I can't remember the game. I've played it. So I played it like 10 times. Whatever. We're going to move on. Anyways, but yeah, that's going to be keep the heroes out, which does look intriguing, does look adorable, and whatever he's doing, it's working, because, like I said already, we have 4,400 backers and $300,000 raised in the day and age of where that doesn't happen quite as often. And then moving on, we have Lost Empires, which is going to be a relaunch. Lost Empires is going to be a relaunch from Colossal Games. This was a game that was on Kickstarter. I covered it the first time. I had a review copy of it. Overall, I really enjoyed it. Had some nitpicks and complaints. Ironically, not ironically, but they took it off Kickstarter to address the fact that a lot of people had feedback about different aspects of the game, the player count, the solo mode, the amount of content, all of that, and they're coming back to address those, although I believe they still have the thing that I didn't like, or at least one of the things I didn't like, which is going to be a die roll deciding combat. I wasn't as much of a fan of that. But either way, this is on Kickstarter, already funded. We currently have, what do we have? We currently have 414 backers, 16 days to go, $21,000 raised, and this is going to be two primary pledge levels, $25 for War for the New Sun, that's going to be basically the main game of Lost Empires, and then $45 for the Crown of Ashes, which is primarily giving you expanded player count for the game. That's the primary. If you go through the FAQ, the main thing you're going to be getting Crown of Ashes is going to be expanded player count. Let's see if we can see over here what's new for this campaign. Oh, they also talk about what's new for the campaign. We have solo decks for all the 4 factions, the 3 to 4 player variant game modes, all of that over there. And over here, with expansion, does it add anything to 2-player core game, or is it just for changing the player count? The Crown of Ashes expansion is solely for the variant gameplay modes. If you're looking for the classic base 2-player only, then just War for the New Sun is all you need. Now it's going to be a $35 MSRP, a $25 price point, plus like $8 in shipping, which basically means that if this game does make its way to retail would be the better price point, because $25 plus 8 is going to be $33. $33 versus a $35 MSRP means it'll be cheaper online. Now, Colossal is a tricky one, because generally campaigns with 414 backers, I do recommend just pick it up at Kickstarter, because retail availability is not guaranteed, not by a long shot, with only 414 backers. The flip side is when you have an established supply chain, like Colossal does, when you have established connections and retail partners, it does make it a little harder to predict whether this one will or won't see retail availability. My general recommendation here would be, if you really want the game, pick it up on Kickstarter. You'll lose $5-10, but if you really want the game, this is your best guarantee to get it. On the other hand, if you're not necessarily in as much of a rush, if you can afford to pass on it, wait for retail. It may be available for cheaper, or it may not be available at all. So it really just does depend on how much you're looking for this game. I didn't really talk about the game that much. It's going to be a primarily two-player game, although it has expanded player counts for solo as well as 3 to 4 players. But you're going to be fighting over 3 lanes, which is a genre we've seen in the past. You're going to have 3 primary lanes where you're trying to score points in it each round until you eventually build up enough points. It's going to have a little bit of deck building, pre-deck building, not in-game deck building, where you're going to take your faction cards and then construct your own deck, or you can use a preset recommended deck and then go head-to-head, playing different cards. Had a very clever action allocation, I shouldn't say clever, but I mean, it really worked. I like the action allocation system they had for both moving, playing, and activating units, as well as the combat mechanisms and the different lanes they had going. My one little pet peeve was combat was decided by both your strength and then plus a die roll, and I didn't love that extra luck added twist to what was otherwise a fairly strategic, fairly solid game. But overall, this is going to be the Lost Empires War for the New Sun from Colossal Games. Next up, we have Dungeons of Draggmar. With $26,000, 833 backers, 23 days to go. This is what happens when you basically have a print and play, and he had a print and play campaign, which had like 800 backers at $1 a piece, and then he worked with those people to continue to create and develop a game, and then put it out on actual, well, you can actually now buy the game. This is going to be a dungeon crawl combined with a card game, kind of. Not really a dungeon crawl, but thematically a dungeon crawl, but in a card game, fast-paced card combat. Lots of cards, this, that, whatever it is. But anyways, you're gonna have to one primary pledge level, $39 again. It's a very common price point that we're seeing today. We have $39, MSRP of $49, plus shipping, of course, to get the base game of Dungeons of Draggmar. While I applaud his approach of, having a print and play and then following it up with a game, overall, the content you get, again, is going to be the same problem we have with all these $39 price points, which is that $39 price point plus shipping really puts you in the $50 zone, and then what you're getting for the $50 zone compared to what you can go out and buy for the $50 zone today just tends to make these a hard sell. Overall, this is one that I am skeptical skeptical will hit retail distribution. They do have Kickstarter exclusive, I believe, if I recall correctly. Let's go through this. Was it this campaign? Maybe not. Oh yeah, here we go. Kickstarter exclusive over here. They had Kickstarter exclusive that will be available here, but again, even right now where it is, I'm not confident we'll see retail distribution with 833 backers. It's a decent number. It might. I'm just not confident there. Overall, I would say same thing as before. You can wait till retail. If you're not necessarily that invested, then wait for retail, or if you're not invested enough, don't get it at all. But if you are interested in it, then Kickstarter might be your best bet. Just again, that aspect of will these or will these not see retail adoption? Hard to say for sure. Moving on, we have Drop Drive. Drop Drive from the company, from the creator that bought you Dungeon Drop, not to Kickstarter, not once, but twice. I think it was twice. Maybe it was 3 times. I think it was just twice. We have just twice, because Jason Maselli, I can see 3 created over here, which means we have 1 plus 2 plus 1 is going to be 3 games. Dungeon Drop was a game where you've dropped a bunch of cubes, a bunch of treasures into a single, basically a square grid, and then drew these little 3-point lines to try to have your adventurers basically rescue all the treasures and fight all the baddies in these rooms you created from connecting different pillars of, well, pillars. But the Drop Drive is going to use that same basic mechanism of dropping things into an enclosed space, but instead giving you a very different experience, one that I found much better. I do have a review of the game that you can check out on the channel. Overall, Dungeon Drop was a game that was not for me. I can see why families would enjoy it, or gateway gamers. My kids enjoyed playing it, but it's one that I wasn't really looking forward to play. I didn't find it rewarding enough. Drop Drive, on the other hand, does give you a lot more. It's fast, it's punchy, it gives you a tableau building, it gives you, it's a much more solid version of the same, I can't even say it's the same system. I mean, it's the same system in the sense that you have a cube box and you drop stuff down into a zone. Past that, it's very, very different. It has enough commonality that you can absolutely compare them, but very different games past that. It's going to be like comparing Century Gauntlet and Century Eastern Wonders. Yes, they're the same, and yes, you can even combine them, but they're actually totally 2 different games. Anyways, I'm getting distracted, as usual. This is going to be $27 for the Drop Drive base game, and that's where things start escalating quickly from there. We have $54 for the Drop Drive Deluxe. That's going to give you 48 metal space coins. Let's see if he has little pictures of his pledge levels over here. I think he does. So the base game, for $27, all packed into a tiny little cubes, is going to be 10 chip cards, 45 explore cards, the captain cards, which is prototype artwork, very different than the actual final game, 5 planet cards, 28 nav tool pieces, going to be the little tools you use to drop your ship into space, as well as to navigate through space trying to hit different points and pick up different things. We're going to have 4 battle dice, 4 wooden ship player markers, 5 wooden pirate ship tokens, the various asteroids you're trying to collect to sell, the 5 planets, that's going to be where you're selling things, 6 wooden salvage tokens, 6 wooden fuel tokens, the 1 wooden sun model, these 48 space coins, the 18 wooden marker demand cubes, 3 folding space wall segments, and then 3 anomaly models and 3 anomaly cards. That's all the stuff you're going to be getting in your base game of Drop Drive. But then from there, if you get the deluxe version, you're also going to get 48 metal coins, as well as heat printed playership tokens and triple layered planet tiles. So that's what you get for $54. Price doubles, but your content gets cooler. For $79, you're going to be seeing an additional $25 price jump over there. $24 price jump. And you're going to be getting the deluxe components, Drop Drive, but you're also going to be getting the neoprene mats and a stronger set of walls. The base game of Drop Drive does come with a set of walls, but it's going to be much smaller and expanded outwards and more card stocky. This is going to be a stronger set of walls, which could be helpful or better, but also won't fit in the box, obviously. And from there we have $112. Things get more expensive as you go, giving you the limited promo pack and as well the 5th player pack, as well as 8 anomaly packs. So anomalies are going to be these ways of mixing up the game experience that often are going to be drawing on pop culture. Things like having a Death Star. Maybe it's a Death Star, maybe it's not a Death Star. A Death Star roaming around the various zone you're in, slowly blowing up planets, and yes, you can take it out for credits. So you can have different things that will mix up the game experience, things that I didn't have a chance to play with in my prototype, but they sound fun. They sound like they would add variability and a fun little gimmicky twist to an already fun little gimmicky game. And then for $147, remember, this is a box and a game this size. Granted, the more you spend, your box is going to expand outwards, but it is a lot of money for a fairly small game. And we have Drop Drive deluxe components, cosmic content, we have sleeves, we have 12 additional metal spoils coins, and 70 nav tool pieces, all in different player colors that you can have your completely own separate things. I have no idea what's going in what box at this point. They made a note about how in the deluxe box they'll probably have some sort of add-on box or container or something. Whatever it is, hopefully it works, because this is a lot of stuff to start sticking out of your box. Although I guess that once you get a neoprene mat, you've already given up any hope of anything. Price point wise, where are we price point wise? Price point wise is going to be as follows. So if you look at the original Dungeon Drop is a game that generally has had retail availability. If you look at the secondhand market for this game, this is one where the deluxe pledges generally have not held their value. Typically, the $50-ish plus shipping deluxe pledge of the previous Dungeon Drops on the secondhand market tends to sell for around $30, which means you can expect to see a hit on this game. It's a cute game. It's a cute system. I think Drop Drive will hold its value better than Dungeon Drop. Not a ton, but better, because, I mean, I'm biased by just personally think it's a better game. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I think it's a better game. A little more nuance to the way the game plays, a little bit more tableau building and strategy and what you're doing, as opposed to just drawing big lines of where you see things. I really felt Dungeon Drop didn't have a ton of strategy, was more gimmicky and fun. This gives you the same gimmicky and fun, but in my opinion gives you a better game on the other end of it. But all that said, I still think it is unlikely to hold its value, although if your options to get this game are going to be Kickstarter, retail, where you'll just get retail, or secondhand market. Secondhand market, I think, will probably give you some of these pledge levels, but you'll have to pick. I mean, there's a lot of options here, so depending on what you want, are you confident, for instance, that you can get the $112 completionist level? So it's one of those weird things where if you just want the deluxe pledge, it probably should be simply available. Once you start going higher and higher, it gets a little tricky to figure out what will and won't be available in the secondhand market if you want this. Then again, spending $147 on a lighter, smaller, gimmicky game is a hard sell. So it won't hold its value. What you do next is up to you as far as getting this game. Moving on, we have Tales from the Red Dragon Inn. 24 days to go, $200,000, $2,400, 2,400 backers. This is going to be a dungeon crawl-ish game from the Red Dragon Inn, from the story, from the genre, the lore of the Red Dragon Inn. You're going to be taking the characters from the game and diving into this, well, it's kind of dungeon crawl adjacent. You're going to have characters, you're going to have, you know, your stats, your upgrades, you're going to be able to build out your stuff as you go through these different maps and encounters in a cooperative experience. There's going to be a single pledge level over here. $90 is going to be the single pledge level. That's going to be the adventure pledge level, giving you the Tales of the Red Dragon Inn, plus the Kickstarter kit and the Scenario 00 pack. There's going to be a bunch of stuff in this campaign. You can check out the reviews or content from One Stop Co-op Shop, as well as from the Hungry Gamer, to check out what they have to say about the game, and then more. I think, yeah, we had John Get Games did a tutorial for it. But overall, if you go through the campaign, there are going to be Kickstarter, I shouldn't say Kickstarter exclusive, I believe they said direct exclusive. Let's see if we have the FAQ. Nope, not there. I have to double check where. I'm pretty sure they said there's going to be direct exclusive, not Kickstarter exclusives. The difference being that you can get them at conventions or this or that. I'll see if I can find it on this page as we go through it. Your goal, your goal. As a thank you, pledge level will also get the Kickstarter kit. Nope, I'm not sure. Maybe it's a different campaign. But either way, they definitely have some form of exclusive, so unless you're going to conventions or this or that, it's going to be your easiest chance to get some of the stuff for this game. We have the solo mode, the new mini, the extra, all these things. Everything with that little K over there is going to be the extra harder to get from the game. Past that, they're adding other stretch goals as well, other increases to the content, as well as the scenario pack, the Scenario 000 as well for the game. That $90 pledge level over there is going to be coming in with shipping as well, so you can see shipping is going to range from 10 all the way up to 40, and that's where we talk about the cost of the game, should you get it, should you not, all of that. It's a hard one to say, because this is going to be coming from Slugfest Games. They haven't really done a game in this genre, and at that price point, at that $90 price point, inherently is going to be compared, plus, you know, $10 shipping, puts it in the realm, basically, of where you can get Gloomhaven for on sale. So you can get, you know, Tales from the Red Dragon Inn, or you can wait for the next Amazon sale and get Gloomhaven. Whenever you start becoming a dungeon crawl, you're all automatically going to be compared against other dungeon crawl experiences in the genre, both in terms of the content, the ratings, the reviews. Always makes it a bit harder to decide which ones are worth diving in on and which ones not. As far as this game, as far as Tales from the Red Dragon Inn, I'm skeptical it'll hold its value. Generally, Slugfest games, their Kickstarters generally do take a bit of a hit. They're popular games, they're fine. There's going to be some Kickstarter exclusive content here, so if you do want that exclusive content, your options are going to be secondhand market or the Kickstarter, but past that, I think it's still not going to hold its value that much. I would expect a small hit at it, you know, the $90 plus $10 shipping, $100. I'd expect to see it somewhere closer to the $80 range, maybe even $70 if selling it on the aftermarket. Definitely not a guarantee. Again, we live in the strange times where the prices now are trying to predict what the prices out are, which also means I'll always have a harder time making these predictions as well. That's going to be Tales from the Red Dragon Inn from Slugfest Games. Moving on, we have Beast. Beast is going to be well, I really like the game, but that's nothing to do with whether you should back it or not. We have 3,000 backers, $207,000 raised. Beast is going to be a one versus many experience, and it's my favorite one versus many experience that I have played personally. That quote testimonial should be, here we go. Beast is without question the best hidden movement game I've ever played. Now, to be fair, and to save you all the questions, I have not played Mind MGMT. That's going to be the most recent hidden movement game that people are excited about. People keep saying rave things about. Yes, I do plan on playing it. It's somewhere behind me on that shelf over there, but until I do, this quote definitely remains true, because Beast is the best hidden movement game I've played. It is simple, it is to the point, it gives you a solid, trackable system, a system which, one of the problems you have with hidden movement games, as I find, or at least one of the problems I have with hidden movement games, is it often falls into this all or nothing kind of symptom, that either you track down your opponent and you start killing them, or you never track down that person as they track around the map. Beast does it really well. Your Beast, whoever you are that's trying to be tracked by the hunters, will frequently pop up and become exposed as you accomplish your goals, as they hit you, target you. There's going to be frequent degrees of always popping up. It is inherent, it is necessary. You cannot make your way through the game without the Beast becoming visible to the hunters multiple times, which gives the hunters multiple times to try to attempt and retrack the trail of the game as you go through it. And then to top it off, there's going to be, in the base game over here, there's going to be 6 different beasts. That's going to be 6 different sets of characters, of abilities, of the way they interact with the board state, of which terrains they favor, which creatures come along with them. Totally different experiences they're going to have. Plus, of course, they're going to have scenarios. I don't know why I said of course, but they're also going to have scenarios in this game. Scenarios that give you slight changes to the way you're trying to play the game, the goals, the constructs, the map size, all these different things. And then they have a variety of hunters. Now, 6 hunters, I believe, is what they have right now. Hopefully, they have more unlocked through stretch goals, because I'd love to see more hunters, because you're inherently going to have 1 beast per game, but multiple hunters. That means, you know, it might take 3 games before you know all the hunters, but it'll take 6 games before you know all the beasts. So I just want more content, which is all I want, which at this point, Studio Midhall is watching this and going, we can never make this board game co guy happy. You see, when I did my review of the game, I said I want more hunter abilities. I wanted more abilities on the hunters, because the beast has their full board full of tons of abilities, and the hunters had 3 abilities. And so they gave me more abilities, and I'm like, thank you, that's awesome. Now give me more hunters. You can't, I mean, I do like this game. I want more because I like this game. But either way, and then on top of all that, they throw in drafting, which is my favorite game mechanic. Drafting is absolutely my favorite game mechanic. Every single round, you're going to be drafting the various ability cards in play, the abilities that the beast gets and the abilities that the hunter gets. You see, they're going to both be using the same cards, although using different portions or different aspects of the cards, which means every turn you're trying to decide what you're doing, as well as what the beast could, what you're depriving the beast, what you're giving to the beast, and or what you're depriving the hunters or giving to the hunters. Very, very tense game. Really well done. My favorite hidden movement game, at least so far. As far as the pledge levels of here, we're going to have 2. We're going to have 1 primary pledge level. I think it's 1 primary. No, 2 primary pledge levels. I was right the first time. We're going to have $59 is going to give you the core pledge, $59 plus shipping, all the Kickstarter exclusive content, the core game, unlock stretch goals, and then for $85, you're going to have the all-in pledge, which gives you the fine art prints, the art book, and the metal coins. So everything from the first primary, but plus the art book and the metal coins as well. Let's go ahead and show you that. And the art in this game is great. The game's going to come with, I believe, standees, if I'm not mistaken, no miniatures, which is fine. I'm not actually, and you see, I'm not even complaining with the miniatures. I'm fine with the standees. I just want more hunters for the game. But either way, like I said already, a ton of content, 6 hunters, 6 beasts, a variety of scenarios. This game has already been picked up by a bunch of companies for licensing because it's a very good game, so I'm not surprised that it has. Solid game by Studio Midhall. I'm looking forward to the next stuff, but we're not done talking about the beast just yet. Going through this over here, let's see what we have over here. We have some stuff. We have stretch goals. Let's go through the stretch goals shortly. And some of these stuff they have for stretch goals is actually pretty cool. So if you look at the stretch goals, we have upgraded card stock. We have more hunter upgrades. You see, that's where they gave the hunter upgrades I so desperately wanted. We have double layer player boards. We have over here, we have custom shaped meeples. We have painted meeples. See, this is what they did over here. Forget the miniatures. They have painted meeples to like augment and give a little spirally effect. Very in line with what the game is doing. Solid job over there. New contracts for the game. Those are going to be the scenarios you play. A new contract north and guards, a digital mini map. So basically, if you want to track your beast position with a digital app instead, you can do that instead. I thought the card system worked fine, but I know it doesn't work fine for everyone. It depends how well you can visualize where your beast has traveled and also remember like a turn or two back at the same time, because you have to kind of watch the hunters wander around and say, oh, yep, you walked in a space that I was, last turn. You have to remember that, unless of course you use a tracker. Custom contracts, which is not my thing, but I'm glad it exists for those who care about that. The surprise stretch goal. What do we have? We have lore backsides for all the characters and more stretch goals to come. That's going to be everything you see over there, which brings us to the price point. The price point, the main pledge I'm going to focus on, is the $59 plus shipping for the game. And ultimately it comes down to two different conversations. The first of all is I believe the game is 100% worth it. In terms of the game experience, I think it's totally worth it. The part where you have to compare it though is going to be what you're getting in the game that's exclusive versus the actual price point, because I have to double check where the MSRP is, but the game is going to have these extras over here that you're going to get for the game as well. So there are extras, there's art prints if you care about those. There's going to be you're going to get this velvet bag for all the habitat tokens in the game. But as far as the MSRP, the $59 is coming off a $65 retail value. Now this is the part that's weird because I think they're wrong about that. I could be mistaken here, but judging by what we're seeing Kickstarter games predict outwards what retail will be a year and a half from now, that $65 for the content you get actually seems low, which makes me think a few things. There's a few possibilities on the table. I don't know what the actual end possibility is here, but we have things like double layer player boards, which may not make their way into the retail version, although they didn't say it's going to be exclusive over here, or at least if they did, I didn't see it. And so I think either the retail value is wrong, or some of the stuff that's not necessarily marked as exclusive is not actually going to be exclusive and not making its way to retail. Overall, I'm in the weird place here where I think this one is worth it, but if you're going by purely what they're saying alone of the value of the game and then the fact that it's going to be $65 retail, that would indicate you should wait for retail to get the game. It'll be cheaper there. That $59 plus shipping is going to be more than the MSRP, at least of what they're saying it'll be, and then of course getting it online would be cheaper there. So based on what they're saying right now, I would say to wait, but I actually am not sure I would wait on this one. I think, let's see if the FAQ, did I miss something? It doesn't, I don't think so. I should probably just reach out to them. I do have a relationship with them. I should probably just double check. So here's what I'm going to do. We have 24 days to go. Right now I'm kind of in this weird space where based on the information they're giving me, I would say wait till retail. This game is going to go to retail. The MSRP makes it so that retail will be cheaper, but also I'm not confident that because of the price point and the extras you're getting. So I'm going to come back with an update on this the next time I do a 2-back or not to back, whether it's next week or the week after. For right now, I really like this game, highly recommend this game, solid game, but Kickstarter or retail is a different conversation entirely. Moving on, and lastly, although we're really ending the video, we're going to talk about Voidfall ever so briefly. I say ever so briefly because I will actually be doing a not a 2-back, I'll be doing a should you back it on Voidfall on Wednesday, where I'll dive totally into the game there. Basically, usually I do these like a day or two into the campaign, but I've had a crazy week, well, crazy month recently. It's been busy. But I am behind on Voidfall, so I'm going to be doing a should you back it on Voidfall right after they cross the $1 million mark, so we'll talk about it then, but I'll talk about that Wednesday, which means you can expect all the details, the information, the pledge levels, all that stuff, the game. The short version here is Voidfall is going to be the 4X coming from Mindclash Games. Mindclash, who haven't done a 4X yet, which is why we're at $1 million and 7,000 backers a few days into the campaign. Because people love Mindclash, and people love 4X games, and people trust Mindclash. I mean, I trust Mindclash. I haven't played this game at all, and I'm intrigued and tempted by it because, I mean, wouldn't you want the next amazing 4X game? And isn't there a decent chance that the next amazing 4X game comes from Mindclash? Mindclash has an amazing reputation for heavy, well-done games, and I think Voidfall is likely to be no exception. We will dive more into this in our Should You Back It later on Wednesday. For right now, the short version I'll tell you right now is if you're interested in this game, you should back it, because the Kickstarters for Mindclash games are almost always worth jumping in on, and I think this will be no exception. We'll dive more into it on Wednesday, but that's going to be the short note. If you're interested in this 4X game from Mindclash, go ahead and back with confidence, because your options are retail or Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter is, well, better. And with that, we're going to move to the picks of the week. The picks of the week, in general, what I do over here, if I actually remember, which is 50-50 on some weeks versus others, but we're going to be picking two different things. One, which is the game that I'm the most interested in personally as far as like the best game, and two is going to be the game that is, well, the best value. And best value does not mean cheapest, it means the most likely to be holding its value when you're comparing the Kickstarter versus retail, should you be getting on Kickstarter or not. And to that end, the best value pick will be the game that you're looking at right now. Voidfall almost certainly is the game that is the best pick as far as if you're looking to back a game on Kickstarter versus retail, then yeah, Voidfall is going to be the one I would recommend. Versus if you're looking to get any game on this list at all, and understand I am completely biased by, well, some of these games I've played and others I'm just excited about, Well, I'm going to be picking Beast. Beast is going to be the game that I would say to pick, to get your hands on if you're looking for a singular game experience that I would recommend. There's a bunch of solid games on this list, whether I've played them or not, a bunch of games that I think look interesting, look cool, a bunch of games that I want to add to my collection. But if you're looking for a single pick of the game that I am the most interested in, that I would pick as being the most excited about, it's absolutely going to be Beast. And with that, we're going to go ahead and end the video. I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. It's been a long day, but I hope you have a good one. It's been a long day. I went to Origins today. Today's Sunday for me. With my kids. All 4 of my kids at Origins. It's a lot of fun running around there with 4 children trailing around you. Got to meet a lot of people, both viewers as well as, publishers or content creators. I'm going to have a bunch of videos talking about Origins in different ways. Top 10 games I'm excited about Origins. The games I brought back from Origins. My first convention experiences, because this is my first con. I'll be talking about that as well. Just what I expected, what the reality was, perceptionally, what I'm excited about next time. I will be going back to, different conventions. We'll see. This is over here, if you made it to the end this far. This over here is going to be my convention hall over here. I'll be doing a full video on these. We have Korra, Vagrant Song, Maglev Metro, Picture Perfect, Night Cage, Sanctum, Bayou Bash, Sagrada, Garinto, Sagrada. I said Sagrada already. There's expansions. We have Critters at War, which is going to be Air, Land, and Sea. We have Fire Tower. We have Lawyer Up from Rock Manor Games. Rift Force from Capstone. Fire Tower, and Catapult Feud. A lot of games. Some others I may include. We'll talk about why. Some others I may include in my video. We'll figure it out. But either way, that's going to be going up on the channel at some point. I don't know when, because I have to figure out the schedule, because I'm playing catch-up. Hopefully, within the next week, things will calm down again. A bit. Not, like, actually calm down, but I need just a bit off my back. Not a lot, just a drop. But either way, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one.